Okay. All righty. So again, good afternoon. First order of business, I need the following people. They don't seem to. The other day, and Audrey, you weren't, Aubrey, you weren't here last class, but we have a new code for the AP classroom. So I know after you went through all that work, but you don't have to register again. You just have to put in the code. So let me share. And then I need a couple of you. Let me share that first. And then I need Raymond, Isaiah, and Junior. Yeah, I need y'all to make sure that you go in and register as well. So, let me share this. Okay, so the new code, and this is to make sure that Northside High School has a record of you being in the course. You're in the course for me, but you need to be on their code page so that if you're going to take the exam, they can get you in, register you for the AP exam later I think next month it starts. So, okay, so I am sharing. All right, so when you go to the AP classroom, you want to change your section code to 9P7A9D. Okay, because they have everybody in except Raymond, Andrew, Isaiah, and Aubrey. So I need you all, you four, to take that code 9P7A9D. It's on the syllabus. I changed it on the syllabus, so you're not going to see that other code up there anymore. So if you would try to log in with that code, do that now, please, because they've already sent me a list that they need to make sure that you guys are in by the end of the day. If I didn't call your name, they got you checked off, so you must be in. Right, the other thing that I was noticing the other day, I'm starting to put, so I did an FRQ question in the assignments folder. I also open a folder so that I can transfer the grade from the AP classroom to the grade book for the first quiz for 1.1. So if you haven't done that quiz, please make sure that you do. And what I mean by that is, let me log in. All right, I am the educator. I had to change my code this year. Password. All righty. All right, so you should have a new code. Um, and that's not it. So don't worry about that code. You should be in on the other code, the code I just gave you. All right, so that being said, all right, so what has been assigned to you already, and a lot of you have looked at the video, most of you have looked at the videos, and that's okay, but you get a grade for the topic questions. So if you have not had a chance to do the topic questions, you need to do that. All right. Yes, you're still in the class. You're still in the class, but they need to be able to see you in the class at Northside. So if you don't register, excuse me, with that, if you don't sign in with that number that I just gave you on the syllabus, they will not know that you're in the class. And then when they will not see any activity for you in the class. And then when it's time to sign you up for the AP exam, and this number is mostly for them to be able to sign you up for the AP exam. So you need to register on that number. Those of you who so what you did before is already in for me and you're good. So let me tell you how it comes up for me. This is my grade book. And I don't often show this, but I'm showing it today. All right, so this is showing me who watched the videos, who has already answered those 3 questions, and who needs to still answer those 3 questions. And you get 3 points for answering the question. So Heaven, Isaiah, and Aubrey. Aubrey, I know you were absent, but the other 2, y'all need to make sure you answer those questions. So I'm putting those grades in the grade book, and that will get. So the video, I don't put the video scores in. And I don't make it mandatory that you watch them. They're there for you to as extra because I show the other video, the one video FRQ question from. So these are just backup videos to add more examples for you. So this is my grade book, and that's how so when I'm looking for, and I say that I don't see your score, I'm looking at this. Okay, like I said, this be the first and last time I show you my grade book like that for everybody to see. But please make sure that you get those 3 questions answered, and those are the 3 before we do 1.2. So I'm going to assign that in 1.2 in a minute. We're going to watch the video for 1.2. But before we do that, I also promised you that we were going to do, so it looks like most of you are finished with your project. And so what I want you to do, we're not going to do the gallery walk today unless you have time. Where is it? All right. So I have set up so you actually have an assignment folder uh, set up in Canvas. Then what's it doing? There we go. Everything takes so long these days. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to use the number that I gave you in the assignment, and you are going to post your whole project up here on the Nearpod board. There are 8 of you in the class, so I expect to see 8 projects lined up. Everybody's present today, yay! So everybody will know what to do. All right, so you're gonna, and let me show you, let me go back to Ken. All right, let me do this as a student, so make sure that you're seeing what I'm seeing. Okay. Right now, I'm still in syllabus. All right, homepage. All right, homepage. All right, so what you have now right now is something that says symbiosis case study. It's on your to-do list. And I'm going to put it in the module in a minute, but right now it's on your to-do list. All right, so the instructions are, this is for the gallery walk. So the instructions are to use this link at the Nearpod. Post your project there. And then after you post your project, so this is not something that you can do right now because we need time to give everybody time to post their projects. Then you are responsible for, so you get 2 points for posting your project. You get 3 additional points for describing other people's projects. So you want for each one that you look at, you want, and I need to make more points for that because you want to look at 3 other projects. And for each one, so this is going to be worth about 10 points. I'll make this 10 because you need 3 for each, 3 points for each project that you look at, and 4 points for posting your project. So I'm going to change this to 10 points. All right, so you're going to look at somebody else's project. You're going to say what type of relationship it is, and then pick 3 different ones. Don't pick all of them the same. There are 3 relationships, so pick 3 other than yours. And hopefully, like I said, everybody has done a variety of things that we can do this. So for example, if it's mutual that you're looking for, so you want to look at one mutual, one parasitic, and one commensal. And then you want to say, just name the 2 organisms that are involved and what they are doing that qualifies them for that relationship, and what you found interesting about those particular organisms. Okay, and you need to do that 3 times. All right. So I'm going to edit this because you have to do 3. So what you can do, I can take the next 5 minutes while I'm doing attendance to post your project. Like I said, it looked to me like almost everybody has submitted one. So that means you're finished, so you can post your project. All right, 4 for posting your project, and then 6 points, 3 points each. Okay. There. All right, any questions about that? You are in my class. I got you on the list. Northside is saying, but did you log in with the number that I just gave you? Because I know all of y'all successfully logged in with the first one that I gave you. So everybody's in the class. And that's why you're all in my grade book. But they want you to log in with the number that I just gave you. And then they'll come back and tell me whether everybody's because enrolled. So you are in my class. You successfully accessed and registered, as far as I'm concerned, in the AP classroom, but Northside needs you to register with that number that they gave, because that's the number that is assigned to the school for those students who are going to take the AP test at the end of the year. Okay. How do you impose your project? Okay, let's go back and look at that. Okay. All right. So when you log into this page, you are going to get a bar like this, share your thoughts. Instead of sharing your thoughts, you're going to share what save it as a PDF, and then you're going to upload it here. Okay. So you would have saved it, and then you have to go look for it somewhere in your so when you click on that, it'll take you to wherever you saved your document, and you click on that, and then it'll upload there. Let me do something crazy. See if I said that right. That's in pictures. Oh, this one's a good thing. All right, so and I'm just using this as an example. And it'll pop up over there, and I hit the arrow, and it should pop up on the page. Go ahead. There you go. All right. Now, I don't need you to comment in the box. Okay, so you do need to click on somebody. So if you click on this, it'll pop up like that. So when your project is up, somebody will click on it and they'll be able to look at it. Okay, you do not have to comment in that comment box. You are taking notes in your text box. You are taking notes, and you are going to make your comments. Now, if you want to, you can say nice job, very interesting. That's not required. That's not where your grade goes. The grade is going in the text box that you post, And like I said, once they post theirs, you should be able to click on, it might come up as a link. Somebody who's ready, go ahead and post yours, and like we could use that as an example. Not, so while you're doing that, I picked this one because this is something that you all need to know anyway. So in environmental science, we have abiotic and biotic factors. The biotic factors are all the living things, while the abiotic factors are non-living. But we need everybody to work together. So all the living things need the water, they need the sunlight, which is abiotic. We need soil. We need what else is in this picture? That's the mountains. You need the land. What else is abiotic? Air, the clouds. So all of those things are necessary in an ecosystem. All of those things are necessary for biotic relationships, the symbiotic relationship. So um, that's why I picked this one as an example to put up. All right, I see somebody. All right, so somebody has put theirs up there. So you're going to click on that. Do you want to leave? Yes, I do. And it'll take me to their project. Thank you, Raymond. So, and then you'll be able to see his project from there. Okay. So you'll go through and you'll read, and then you can close out of that and go look at another one. Okay. All right. Any questions about that? So yes, it's going to come up as a link, a Google Doc. So get it in that form and then save it in the box and post it. There's another one. Okay. And again, you're going to say, yes, I need to leave. Uh-oh. Okay, that's the other one. You have to grant everybody with permission to look at it. Okay, I need access. So I'm going to request access. So whoever this is, needs to go back in and grant everybody access to view the documents. Otherwise, we won't be able to open it. Okay. And I forgot how you all do that, but we're before you save it, I think. Somebody help me out. There's something that you have to click on before you submit it that says everybody can view it. And I'm going to check all these so that to make sure everybody has granted. See this one too. So whoever you are, you need to grant everybody access. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna come back and check on those in a few minutes. So these last two folks, if you just posted yours, so Raymond, yours is good. We can get in that. These two folks, you need to go in and check to see if other folks can actually access your link. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing, check my attendance. I'll be right back. All right, if you are finished with that, in a few minutes, we're going to look oh, somebody asked me about the FRQ. The FRQ is an assignment that is in your module, I believe, but it's definitely on your assignment page, on your to-do list. So let me make sure I put it in the module, and I believe I did. But if not, we're gonna put it there right now. Okay, it is not, so it's going there right now. Hmm. Okay. Um, okay, so I have successfully put both of those. Okay, I'm gonna check on it in just a second, Kaylee. Let me. All right, Kaylee says she fixed hers. All right, folks. So in the module, I have put both assignments in the module. So the FRQ question is right up underneath 1.1. So if you click on FRQ there, this is the, I said when we watch the videos with Mr. Sneed, he always ends with the FRQ question. Most of the time in the AP classroom, they're only giving you the multiple choice questions. So I always take his FRQ question and I post it for you in the assignment folder. So he's asking you to identify this. So again, make sure that you're looking at the two verbs that they put in general, the testing, excuse me, the testing clue that they want you to remember is always look for the verb and do what they tell you to do. So if they say identify, in your answer, you are identifying. If they say describe in your answer, you are describing. So that's the question there. So that is in the module now. And the case study follows that. And following the case study, I just put the gallery walk. Okay, so now it's all in the module. And it's all under 1.1. So I'm going to take attendance and then I'm going to open up 1.2 and in about 10 minutes, we'll look at the 1.2 video. All right, be right back. Okay, and I guess all of you have gotten your internet and stuff back because this morning half my class was missing. Nobody had internet. It was better by fourth period, but it looks like all you guys are good to go. I think we're going to get some more weather. So stay safe, stay ready. Okay, attendance is done. They have upgraded all of the sync the gradebook with the Infinite Campus, so you should be able to see your individual scores by looking at Infinite Campus. I believe when you're looking at the vault, you're only seeing an average. So if you're looking in Infinite Campus, you should be able to see your individual. It takes time to download, so every night it upgrades, but if it's already been graded, at the end of the day, it's already syncing with Infinite Campus. We had some folks who couldn't see their grades. All right, the other problem I run into sometimes is when I go in the AP classroom, like what I'm doing right now, is I'm going to assign 1.2, but I think they're certain times of the year they're on a different times zone than we are. So we might be an hour ahead or an hour behind. All right. Okay, so I'm still looking, and I got check marks next to everybody's name. So I'm assigning that. And then the same thing with this one. I got check marks for every 6. Uh-oh. Okay, one. Okay, I got it, everybody. Okay, thank you. All right, so I have just assigned 1.2 in the AP classroom. We're going to look at the video in a minute. And let me jump back over here and look at all right, so yes, Kaylee, I see yours. Heaven, I have access to yours. And Aubrey, I have access to yours. Somebody posted and deleted. Priscilla, I got access to yours. And whoever just posted theirs, we need access because it denied me access. So I'm requesting access. So you should get a message that says requesting access. And you should allow access for anyone with a link. All right, so if I called your name, then you posted, I can see you on the board. Okay. So again, while you're doing that, I will get our next video loaded.
Hey everybody, it's Mr. Steve.
Why do they say unlist? Okay. I have to make sure that my settings for saving these is correct. All right. I'm going to go ahead and show 2.2. At the end of 2.2, he will have an FRQ question, and I will put a copy of that in Canvas this afternoon. No, you don't have to in your free time. So Monday is when I see you. I see you all Tuesday. Tuesday, I'll give you some time, or if we have time after we watch the video here. Yes, you can look at everybody else's project. I was trying to give everybody a chance to post first before you start trying to read somebody else's project. So hang on, don't read them yet. What I need for you to do right now is pay attention to the video. All right, so we did 1.1, which was ecosystems, and now we're doing 1.2, which is terrestrial land biomes. Okay.
Welcome to video notes for topic 1.2, which is terrestrial or land-based biomes. Our objective for the day is to be able to describe the global distribution and the environmental conditions of land-based or terrestrial biomes. We'll talk.
All right. 2 reasons. I think I might have said this to you before. 2 reasons. He has wonderful PowerPoints, and they always say don't reinvent the wheel. There's an excellent PowerPoints. He also always gives you the learning objective and the essential knowledge that you need according to the AP classroom. So you'll see if you there are pages that you can turn to in the AP classroom, and you'll see this as well. Okay, so he always relates the AP classroom objective and essential knowledge to what the AP exam is about, as well as give you an FRQ.
About how the plants and animals that live in a biome are adapted to that unique climate. We'll go over major must-know biomes for apes. We'll talk about how the worldwide distribution of biomes is subject to change if our climate changes. And finally, the environmental science skill that we'll practice at the end of today's video will be explaining an environmental concept or process. So biomes are areas that share a combination of average yearly temperature and precipitation, also known as climate. This is really important to point out. Climate is just a combination of average temperature and precipitation trends over a year. So we can look at some examples of well-known biomes. We have the rainforest. Of course, this is going to be a biome that over the course of the year is going to have really, really high rainfall, as well as really, really warm temperatures. Whereas the desert is going to be a biome that's characterized by very, very low precipitation. Now, it may also have high temperatures, but that low precipitation is the big distinguisher between the tropical rainforest and the desert. Really important to point out that the community of organisms that live in biomes are uniquely adapted to the climate of those biomes. So this is our sort of thinking like a mountain opportunity, because instead of thinking of the biome and trying to memorize what organisms can survive there, just remember that any organism in a biome must be uniquely adapted to survive those climate conditions. So we've got some examples here. We have camels and cacti. Camels have humps, which store energy in the form of fat for times when they are unable to find energy for a long period of time. Cacti have thick, waxy cuticles or coats that basically prevent water loss through evaporation. So those are both adaptations that allow those organisms to survive the harsh, dry conditions of the desert. We have shrubs and wildflowers. They're going to have long, deep roots that store a lot of energy so that when there's wildfires that devastate the landscape of the grasslands that they live in, they're going to be able to quickly regrow because they've stored so much energy deep in the ground in their roots. So again, the organisms of a biome are uniquely adapted to survive the conditions, meaning the climate, of that biome. Now we'll talk about characteristics of biomes. The 2 most important characteristics of a biome are its temperature and precipitation. In fact, they are the defining characteristics. So if we look at a graph here, we'll see that we have different ranges of both temperature and precipitation. So for instance, if we look at the tropical seasonal forests, also known as the savanna, we'll notice that they range in annual precipitation from maybe 60 or 75 centimeters of annual precipitation all the way up to maybe 280. And then if we look at the temperature, we'll notice that those tropical seasonal forests are going to range from, maybe 18 degrees or so, all the way up to about 29 degrees Celsius. So just keep in mind that all of these biomes are defined by the range of precipitation and temperature found in them. What we'll notice is that these temperature and precipitation ranges will also predict where on Earth we can find the biomes. So we can look at the biomes mapped across Earth's surface, and we'll see that there's very predictable patterns. If we look at biomes such as the tundra and the boreal forest, if you remember from our graph, they're very low in precipitation, and they're also colder biomes. So we're going to see them farther away from the equator, concentrated around 60 degrees latitude. Now, if we look at the temperate biomes, these are going to be things like temperate grasslands, temperate seasonal forests. We're going to see them concentrated on the middle latitudes between 30 and 60. This is because these are latitudes that receive a moderate amount of rainfall and have a moderate temperature year round. So they're going to be reasonably warm, but they're going to get somewhat cool in the winter. And then finally, we have the tropical biomes. So this would be the tropical rainforest and the tropical seasonal forest or the savanna. And we'll notice that they're concentrated around the equator.
His commercials are in the
At
weirdest
Piedmont,
places.
everything we do is guided
Just
by
cut
one
him
goal:
off.
better outcomes for every patient.
And that's going to be characterized by really warm temperatures because it gets the most direct sunlight and really high precipitation. So again, instead of trying to memorize all of these different biomes, we need to think about how these patterns of temperature and precipitation are influenced by the distance that we are from the equator. And that's going to tell us where we're going to find different biomes. We'll see our colder, drier biomes up near 60 degrees and north. So the further away we get from the equator, we'll see our temperate biomes in those middle latitudes around 30 to 60 degrees. And then we'll see our tropical, our really warm, and our really rainy biomes near the equator. Another very important characteristic of biomes is their nutrient availability. Now, this is because plants need soil nutrients in order to grow. So the availability of the nutrients in the soil is ultimately going to determine which plants and how many species of plants can survive in different biomes. So we have a great example here. We can think about the tundra. Now, you could memorize that the tundra has a lot of snow and ice, and so it doesn't have as many plant species. But we want to try to actually understand the reasoning behind that. So because the soil in the tundra is permanently frozen year-round, that limits the decomposition of organic matter, which recycles nutrients. So because those soils are so frozen for so much of the year, we don't recycle a lot of nutrients, and so there are low nutrient levels in the soil. That's going to also lead to low water availability due to it being frozen. And then finally, that's going to result in very few plants able to survive these conditions. So we can see here that the active layer, the layer of the soil that thaws out each year and is available for plant growth, is very small compared to the permafrost. Again, that results in very few species of plants being able to survive here, and therefore fewer animal species as well. Now we can look at a few more examples. The tropical rainforest, even though it has a ton of plant growth and you might think it has really nutrient-rich soil, is actually going to be quite nutrient poor. And it's because there are so many plants that are competing for the nutrients that they get quickly absorbed in the soil as soon as they're made available. Then we have the boreal forest. Boreal forests, remember, are cold. They're going to be dominated by coniferous trees like pine trees, aspen, spruce, and they're going to also have nutrient-poor soils, but for a different reason. It's because the temperature is so low for much of the year that the decomposers like earthworms and fungi are not going to be able to break down dead organic matter fast enough to cycle those nutrients quickly. Then finally, we have the temperate forests. Those are the forests that you're used to seeing in West Michigan and across much of the US. They have very high nutrient levels in the soil, and that's because they have broad leaves like oaks and maples that drop their leaves each fall.
Region. So this is the description of all of the plants and animals that are in our region.
That leads to a lot of organic matter on the forest floor, and their moderate temperatures are going to allow for a faster rate of decomposition, which makes those nutrients available in the soil. So this is a great example of how another biome characteristic, nutrient availability, ultimately determines which plants and which animals can survive in that biome.
10th grade is when smart parents start test prep. By junior year, it's...
And finally, we'll talk about how biomes can shift in their locations. That is because climate is not stable on Earth. Climate is subject to human activities that are changing it rapidly right now. And so as the climate continues to warm, that will shift biomes such as the boreal forest further north, as those soils that used to be frozen for much of the year are thawing out and able to have the large tree species of a boreal forest now grow in those conditions. They're also going to lose some of their southern range as it becomes too warm for the trees that down, such as aspen and spruce. So we have here the current range from 19,000 of the aspen, which again is a very characteristic tree species found in the boreal forest, versus the predicted change in that biome from 2071 to 2100. We notice that the predicted range is far further north. Again, that's due to the soils that were previously frozen, thawing out and enabling tree growth further north, and a lot of those southern regions that we see in the northern US and in southern Canada becoming too warm for these tree species. We can see an actual picture of this progress happening. These are photos of the same exact Arctic plot of land in 1962 and then again in 2004, and we can see that the forest is slowly creeping northward as global warming makes those previously too cold soils warm enough for the boreal forest tree species to survive in. Our practice FRQ for topic 1.2 today will involve the skill of concept explanation. So I want you to identify one characteristic of a biome and then explain how that characteristic determines the community of organisms that are found in that biome.
Okay, so I'm going to, like the other one, I'm going to copy this and I will put this in Canvas for you as an assignment. What you would need to do is go back, and then they have the biome characteristics in Canvas. Identify one characteristic of a biome. So he mentioned like 8 biomes. Pick one and then mention what the describing characteristic is, and then explain how that characteristic determines the community of organisms found there. In other words, what kind of plants grow there and what kind of animals grow there because of those conditions. So for example, if it was a desert biome, what type of plants are unique to a desert biome? What type of animals are unique to a desert biome? So I will put that in Canvas in a little while. All right. In the meantime, you have a choice of, and when I say that, you have a choice of post your biome if you haven't, your project if you haven't done so, and then finishing up this. So don't worry about 1.2 unless you have completed everything else. Okay. All right. So for 1.2, of life, we start with the organisms and these are going to be vocabulary, is the individual and of one kind of organism. You put a couple of that one kind with some others of that kind, and you have a population, okay, that can interbreed. So that's the key word there. All right, give me one sec. Then community. So you take that population and you put it in the same area with another kind of population and you form a community. So notice we started with just little fish and they were all the same kind of fish. And so we now have that fish here, but we also have coral, we have jellyfish, we have stingray, and then up to this point, they're all living things. So the population and the community are just looking at what living things live in that area, what plants, what animals live in that area. Then we get to an ecosystem. When we start talking about ecosystems, we want to know what those populations are doing in relationship to the soil that they're in, the air that they're breathing, the sunlight that's shining on them. So the ecosystem also includes abiotic factors. Okay, what is important to that environment? Some of these, all of these actually in this picture are aquatic organisms, but up to this point, we weren't talking about the water. We were just talking about what living things live together. Then different ecosystems live on this great in a larger area called a biome. So a certain part of the planet, we have different ecosystems functioning there. We have terrestrial ecosystems, we have aquatic ecosystems. Like where we live, even though we're in a temperate deciduous forest area, we still have pond life, we have tree life, we have land life. So those are different areas, but they all live in the same biome. So um, those are things to consider. And I'm going to talk about the climate graphs, and then all of these different biomes, they all exist on the planet, all over the place. Okay, so the planet is home to a lot of different biomes, and each biome also has ecosystems within it. All right, so you can give a look to that. What did I'm going to come back and talk about this one in particular, because this is a graph you need to know how to use. So I'll talk about that next class. But in order to answer the question, these are the biomes that they actually, so they wanted you to pick one as far as the FRQ question that he had at the end of the video. Pick one and then find out what the characteristics are of that biome, and then what makes that good for the particular plants, organisms, plant or animal that you pick. So these are your choices of biomes. Okay. And then it goes on to explore each one, tell you what each one is about. So you can get your answer to that question right here. Okay. All right, so that's for the FRQ 1.2. Well, this particular one will answer all that question for you. All right, I'm going to stop talking and let you spend the last few minutes doing one of two things, either going through everybody else's project or working on the AP classroom. I have not put up the FRQ question yet, so you can't answer this one yet, but while you're working on that, I will be working on this. Okay, any questions, any questions? To the ecosystem practice, do you mean in the AP classroom? Who's asking? Heaven? You mean in the AP classroom? Heaven, are you there? You asked me a question. I'm not sure. What do you mean by how do you answer them? The FRQ in Canvas. Okay. You're going to pull that up and you can type an answer in the text box up underneath it and then submit it that way. And remember that you want to make sure that you are describing and explaining whatever it is he's asking you to describe and explain. All right, back to you. No, this one was identify and describe for number one. This one is identify and explain. Oh, sure. I can do that. Give me 1 second to get back to it. Okay, for question 1, it is a picture of a food web. And food webs always describe all, well, in this case, most of the feeding relationships in a particular ecosystem. So, all right, so I'm explaining it. And folks, please ask questions if you need to. All right, so this is the question here for 1.1. All right. All right, all of these arrows represent technically the direction of energy flow. When we have a food web is how the energy is flowing throughout that ecosystem by showing the feeding relationships. The food web always starts with a plant and it usually moves up to, so you have the plant, then you have those organisms that eat the plant, and then the organisms that eat the plant eater. So in this particular case, and let me just blow this up a little bigger. Come on. Let me what do I want to do here? This as a student that might get bigger. All right, that is definitely bigger. Okay. So down here to the bottom, you have the phytoplankton, this is an aquatic ecosystem. Okay, so everything here has something to do with the water except that big bear. And he feeds on things that are in the water. So we start off with the plant organism. Like I said, we always start, energy always originates with the photosynthesizer. So in this case, it is the phytoplankton, and they are diatoms. They exist in the water. Those are microorganisms. And the organism that feeds on them is the krill, and they are the zooplankton. So krill are also, you can see them, but they're a little smaller than I know they look like shrimp, but they're much smaller than shrimp. Okay, so krill. Now, the arrows always point from the thing that is eaten to the thing that is doing the eating. So energy is flowing from the phytoplankton to the zooplankton. All right, so now we're at the krill, and we're looking at the arrows that are leaving the krill, going to the codfish, and going to the seal. That means that the seal and the codfish both feed on krill. That's where they get their energy from. So the krill gets its energy from the diatoms, and then the seal and the codfish get their energy from consuming krill. So that's why the arrows are pointing to them from the krill. Now, we also have an arrow pointing from the codfish to the seal, and in addition to the arrow that's going from the krill. So that means that the seal also feeds on codfish. So it feeds on krill and codfish. All right, then we have Mr. Bear. Mr. Bear has 3 arrows going from him. So that says that the bear eats codfish. He eats actually 2 arrows. Yeah, going to him. The bear eats codfish and he eats seal. And then you have an arrow going from the bear to the orca, and from the codfish to the orca, and from the seal to the orca. So the orca is king of the hill. Okay. The orca eats everybody. He can attack the bear, he can eat the codfish, and he eats seal. So that's what those arrows are telling you. Okay. So 3 arrows to the orca, 2 arrows to the bear, one arrow here, one arrow there, two arrows going that way. All right, did that help, Heaven? You're welcome. And hopefully that helps somebody else who has not answered the question yet. So then it says identify two organisms that compete for a shared resource. So again, if they're eating the same thing, that pretty much limits you to Mr. Seal and the bear and the orca. So pick two of those that are competing for the same thing. And then you have to describe, we talked about this on Wednesday, resource partitioning. You have to know what that means. And that means that even though they're competing for the same food source, they're not like the lions that show up and then you've got one little organism, then they're both going to fight over it to see who's going to get the food. They can both feed on the same resource without being in direct competition with each other. So what are some ways that they can do that? Feed off the same thing without showing up at the same time is basically what that's asking. Okay, any more questions about this one before I leave this page? Everybody's good? All righty. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to post the second. I'll let you know when that's up. But in the meantime, make sure by now everybody's project should be posted in the gallery walk. And between now and Wednesday, make sure you spend some time trying to look at everybody else's project. Actually, between now and next Friday. Make sure that you've had a chance to look at everybody else's project. Okay. What did I do with it?
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to like this video if it was.
Where did that thing go? There we go. My screen is going wacky wacky. You go away. What's that? Mm. Oh, my, time is up. Uh, Oh, so find a nice place to stop, and I will see you next week. Have a nice weekend. Stay safe, stay dry, stay hydrated, because this heat is no joke. Bye-bye. I know that word did not want to come out of my mouth. Drink lots of water.
Don't worry, I'll be sure to stay hydrated.
You do that. Have a good one.